recall. One day, June and I, Jack and Jenny Palmer went to the horseback riding. I never rode a horse before, so they gave me an old nag who tried to get rid of me by rubbing up against trees. Then raced back to the barn, jumping over a stream and racing towards the barn. I had to duck as he ran into the barn. I did not ride a horse for a long time. The second time I rode a horse was when I had a little farm in Old Mountain Pike in Medford. We had a small barn with 2 horses and a miniature donkey. One of my and then donkey's name was Pepe Giuseppe. Oh, all the horse people liked to stop and say hello. There was one gentleman that I called the Colonel. He had a fancy horse and saddle. I had a couple of Manhattans and was feeling no pain. He said, "Jump on, take a ride, take the horse for a ride." I said, "Okay." So I jumped on the horse, gave it a little kick, and the son of a bitch took off like a rocket. Me hanging on for dear life. June and the Colonel were shouting, "Turn him, turn him." I finally jerked on the left rein. The horse spun around and stopped. Well, the Colonel took his horse and never came back. What do you think of it so far?
That's good.
What do
You
you
need
think?
more paper.
Oh, I got another book yet. This is just an outline.
Do you have more written?
It's a different outline than this one. It's almost the same thing. What I'm
Guy's
going to do
dipping his
is
private parts in that medicine and spurred his skin off. You imagine him working?
oh, geez.
Oh, he must have been in pain.
Did
Well,
you
you
write
know,
about
tough.
those guys sitting on the bed? All the springs?
Yeah, not
And how
yet.
they would jump off?
Yeah, that was in boot camp.
Is that in that? That's not in that, is
No,
it? It must be in the other
Yeah,
one?
it's in the other book. I'm going to put the two of them together. Well, what did you think of it so far?
Yeah.
I like it.
Did you like it?
Yeah.
I like it.
They used to call it Samsonitis. See, when you had to roll your mattress back, so half the bed was springs. So the guys used to take showers and jump up on the second deck, and sit, and their balls would hang down, and then they'd forget, and they would jump off. Well, guess what? They get caught in the springs, so they had to pick up the bunk beds, and the guy would take them to sick bay. We call it Samsonitis. Then the guys that weren't circumcised, they would circumcise them, and you could always tell them the spindle boys, and we called them.
Why do they do that? For hygiene?
Yeah, if you couldn't, they would say, "Skin it back." If you couldn't skin it back, right? Cut it off. The guys used to walk around. Here comes the spindle boys. That was funny. Samsonitis.
Oh, that's good, though. That's good.
I believe I wrote that all in one night. I mean, I just wrote into the night, didn't stop. I had wanted to put it down before I forgot what I was going to do. Now I can add to it as I get to the different things.
Yeah.
But did you like the idea of a recall?
That was brilliant. Yeah.
Because if you're writing a story and you're reading it and reading it and reading it, unless the story is really interesting, you get tired of it.
Mm-hmm.
But when you read this story, you get to a certain point.
You get to a certain point, you're
I'm
like,
recalling it.
Then you recall, and it's like she did. Well, wait a minute, what happened?
Yeah. Then you go back to it and you go
Right.
back and forth with it. So, you think it's worth doing?
Yeah.
Yeah, I like it.
Now, how would you add to it? Would you keep going? Or do you mean like going back?
I would.
For instance, like the horse story with the guy and the horse took off with you. Would you do something like
Yeah.
describe the day and make it longer?
Yeah.
That's what you mean?
Yeah, sure.
That's what I think you need to do.
Yeah, that's what I'm going to do. What I did here, I just wrote it down as fast as I could, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And-
Thought
That's what
down.
you're supposed to do.
Which I.
That's
got
my
down.
problem. Because I
So-
don't.
So now what I'm going to do is I rewrite it, like it says here. My son became a very successful veterinarian with a huge following. Then I'm going to go into, how
Yeah.
many horses he treats
His
and all.
accomplishments and all
His
Yeah.
accomplishments and everything. You see what I mean? Then about Becky with her, photographer and writes for a national magazine. So I'll go into that too, and that'll stretch the book out.
Well, I think it'd be good when you talk about New Guinea and things. describe the surroundings in detail because nobody's
Yeah.
been to New Guinea. You know,
Yeah,
what did it
yeah.
feel like? What was the temperature,
You gotta do
humidity?
that one patrol
What was
where
the
you were sitting
wind?
there shooting at the bell.
Yeah. What did it
And they
smell
started
like?
shooting back at you.
Yeah. I mean, what did it smell like? You know, what
Yeah.
the guy that you're talking to, what did he look like? Was he tall,
Yeah.
black, sweaty, mean?
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah,
what kind of tone in his voice?
Yeah.
And bring the person there. But that's what you do now. You're doing the right thing now, and that's just writing down the events.
This is the events, yeah.
Yeah, the events and the memory.
I don't know how many pages there are here, but I can make this almost double, triple the size
Yeah.
by just taking what I've got and then expanding on it. You know? Unbelievable.
Those stories crack me up.
Well, thankfully the publishers are a lot different today than they were. You know, once
Yeah, but
upon
I
a
wouldn't get this published. I
but-
would write it just for like I did my poetry book.
no, that's
and
good
get
enough to be published.
it Good. Nah.
Yeah, that's good enough to send queries out when it's all done and everything. And if it doesn't, it doesn't. Meanwhile, you know, all the generations will have it to hand down and things.
Yeah.
And friends
Yeah.
will like it. But that's
I
good
know
enough
that-
to get
like the
queries
book-
out.
My poetry book. I mean, everybody they keep asking for it. You know.
Yeah.
People come up to me and
Well, it's good.
yeah, I just give
It's
them.
good. The funny
But you know,
ones, it's funny
in
as
the
hell.
old days, they told you they only wanted books so long
Yeah.
or whatever. And I mean, we for so many years, this country lost out on so much good writing because of
Yeah.
that. But now they're okay with it. You remember the
Everybody
guy
said-
that wrote The Hobbit?
How many years did it take you to write this thing? I said it didn't take me many years. I said I started it in 2008 and finished it up in 2009.
Yeah.
I said and I didn't write it the whole time. I said I just piecemeal it. Remember, I started out by piecemealing it.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
had a few poems at a time. Yeah.
Then I start writing them like crazy. You know.
You know, you've heard, you know, this book and the movie The Hobbit,
Yeah.
Lord of the Rings and all that.
Yeah.
That guy wrote that. It was like a make-believe child story in his mind. Well, he kept going with it and put so much detail in it. It was huge, you know.
Yeah.
So then publishers loved it, you know, go ahead, write this book. Well, the more he got into it, you know, and he comes back and puts this manuscript that they said was like 3 or 4 phone book highs.
Thank God.
And the publisher was furious.
Yeah.
You know, what, you want me to write it or edit it? Because he sat there and said, you can't sell it the way it is. I said, you're asking me to edit that? That's
Yeah.
your job to, you know. Well, he said, well, this, you know, he said, this is the book. And I'm not going to compromise on it.
Did you like?
And he
that?
said, we can't publish something. They finally came to the compromise of breaking it up into 4 books.
Mm.
You know, now today, because people don't care if something's good, they don't care if it's 5 pages or 5 million pages.
Yeah.
Now, finally, publishers put out the whole set
Yeah.
together, the way the writer wanted it.
Yeah.
So,
Did
You know,
you like?
thankfully-
Did you like the one that "Let This Be Our Prayer"
I don't remember that
in
one.
the front of the book?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, in the front of the book?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then what was the other one? There's some funny ones in there.
Yeah. Scott's mom liked it.
Huh?
Scott's mom liked it.
So I read it.
Did she? Did she like it?
Maybe she would have read more. The kids weren't screaming and
More
singing
screaming
and
singing.